dangerous for you if you don't know how to do this. One day, it could be really, really important, and I may not be there to help you when that happens, so I need to make sure you can do it. Please, what tell me to do?
That's so crazy. No.
Mom? Mom!
Hey, you asleep?
Oh, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yes. Dahlia were really close, right?
We're doing this now. Where
Yeah.
are they? Are they on the Amtrak? Oh my god, I'm dead.
Well, but she must have dealt with the same kind of stuff. The way you guys all talk. The way the gods want us to think. Gotta burn an offering to get a parent's attention. Gotta beat up on Clarice just to get my father to admit he's my father. It isn't supposed to work that way. People who are close to you aren't supposed to treat you that way.
Right.
To my father.
Oh,
That's how it
look
works
at
with
this
him.
now.
Who born from a thought in her mind and then given to a partner she feels connected to. For a while, I was treated like a gift. And to her, I wasn't a gift. I was a problem.
Leah.
So I left. I was 7. I think I need to eat.
Oh, what is that? What is that?
Can I ask a dumb question?
It's like you need me to make fun of you.
Follow-up stupid question.
Dude, in the natural world, humans have been trying really hard to chip away at it. The bravest satyrs followed Tyr to become searchers, trying to find Pan. None have ever returned.
I mean, how? And why?
Sir,
Are we under arrest?
I don't think you want to take that tone with me, little girl.
Are we under arrest?
Children.
Oh my god.
Children.
I can't.
What does that mean?
mother of monsters. Echidna.
Oh, it's such a cute dog.
I shouldn't have snapped at him. I know.
People don't just go into the potty.
No, luck or fate.
Look, I've only been a demigod since last Saturday.
Maybe you could say hi to your dad while we're here.
No thanks.
Oh.
Father,
Are his
you've
eyes
done
getting
more for
redder?
me in the past few days my father's done in my entire life. If I have to stick with someone,
He's getting
Careful.
poisoned.
I think you're about to call me a friend. Somewhere around here, the oracle is laughing at us, but you know.
Yeah, he's ill. Yeah, he's ill.
What happened?
He's ill. Give him some nectar.
And I'm going to ask my mom for help.
shall we don't ask for help?
She ain't doing anything.
Chimera. How did the Chimera even get inside here? How did any monster get inside?
Annabeth,
We're in a sanctuary. Athena would have had to let her in, but why would she do that?
Annabeth, what did Echidna say to you?
She said my impertinence wounded my mother's pride, and that will be my doom.
Impertinence? What kind of
Your package,
to
man.
his head?
Your package.
I signed the note.
And I went along with it.
Yeah.
It embarrassed.
Hey, help me down the stairs and get him to the river. And don't stop. Not till you get to Hades. Not till you have the boat. Do you hear me?
Oh my god. Trick or century.
Besides, I would have never made it to Hades. But you My mom told me these stories all the time. This is the kind of family they are.
Hello. So it's Sunday. So like episode 5 comes out in like 3 days. But I'm doing my little wrap up of episode 4. So yeah. As always, I'm gonna start with my complaints, and I only have one, and this isn't even my own complaint. This is something that I saw someone say on Instagram that I was like I don't really care, but I think it's like a legitimate thing. So basically the complaint is that like in the book, Percy jumped off the St. Louis Arch into the water, and in the show he sort of just fell. And I think, like, again, it's such a small difference. So like for me personally, I don't think the way they did it in the show made him seem like he was like weak or like whatever, but I think it's legit for people to be like, I wish he had that like little brave moment, like jumped off the arch and like trusted the water and whatever. So that's all I got for complaints. So let's go. The rest of the episode, I thought like they couldn't have done it better. I will say, so this part of The Lightning Thief is like my least favorite part of the book. So I'm like, there's nothing that happens during this part that I'm really super attached to from the book. And so like I think the episode is better than that part of the book, because they just like improve all these little things. It's so good, dude. Okay, and I also will just say off the bat, the literal like only thing anyone's saying is that the episode should have been longer. The episode should have been longer. Why was it only 33 minutes? And to that, I say that is not valid. Like, I'm invalidating you, because this show is for kids. Like, you can't, like, even the 45-minute episodes, I'm like, that's, like, I feel like I'm being given a gift here. For them to be 45 minutes is, like, very kind. And so I think 30 minutes is, like legit runtime for a kids show. But it's like, I understand. But it's like, what else did you want them to do? Like, the arch happened. And I'll get to that later about, like, why they don't have to draw it out. Like, we know what happens. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So this episode is sort of split into, like, 3 sections in my mind. There's, like, the beginning part, which is the flashback of Percy and Sally. And then there's the Amtrak part, which I guess the Amtrak is sort of, like, a large chunk of the episode. And it's sort of like the little nighttime scene and then like the daytime scene. And then there's the St. Louis Arch, just all of that. So yeah, we're just gonna go through the episode, talk about my thoughts, what they did. So first of all, off the bat, the flashback, like them, oh my god, like being able to see this in like a TV show formula, like medium, is so cool, because like we don't get random flashbacks like that in the book. I have to burp, bro. Excuse me. But like in the books, that's not something that happened in the book. And so like that whole scene is so interesting, because first of all, it's Percy and Sally at a little swimming lesson when he's like 7, I'm gonna say. He's like 7. And him, I guess, when do you learn to swim? I feel like he maybe he's younger than 7, because I feel like he would already know how. But the whole gag of him like being afraid of learning to swim, that's so funny, because it's like, it goes to show that like demigods in childhood, like when they're little, they don't like have powers or like any sort of sense of the like their abilities. And so although he's the son of Poseidon, he doesn't connect to that, you know what I mean? And that's so cool. And to start the episode with baby Percy being afraid of water, and then, I mean, I'm going to talk about the end later, but like to end the episode with him again in the water and like upping his abilities is like such a cool way to frame this episode. A round of applause. So yeah, and that also, him being afraid of water reminds me so much of Thalia, or Thalia, I guess. I'm gonna try to start calling her Thalia, because, like, I've never been a Thalia truther, but I guess that's how they're saying it in the show, so whatever. But in the Titan's Curse, the third book, Thalia is obviously daughter of Zeus, and she's afraid of heights, and that's, like, a whole thing of hers, is that she's afraid of heights. And so I think the whole gag of, like, Percy being afraid of water early on is so good. And even, like, that sort of comes back later in Heroes of Olympus, where it's in the Son of Neptune? I don't know, there's some part where, like, Percy, like, drowns, but, like, he doesn't actually drown, but he is drowning. And then, like, drowning is, like, a fear of Percy's from there on out. And I just think that's so interesting, to be, like, afraid of your power. That's so cool. So yeah, there's that, and then Sally is, like, desperately trying to get Percy to learn how to swim, because I guess she knows, like, okay, like, she knows his dad is Poseidon. Like, she knows. She couldn't tell him that, like, we couldn't pass that info on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just, like, I don't know if this is, I guess it's because Sally can see through the mist, which not all demigod parents that are mortals can. So I guess not every parent knows what god their demigod child is a child of. But Sally did know, so she could have told Percy, but, like, it's fine, Sally, I won't judge you. But she obviously knows Percy's the son of Poseidon, and so she is, like, it's so crazy. She's, like, desperately trying to get Percy to, like, go and, like, swim and try it and, like, learn how to swim. Because she's, like, someday, she doesn't say this to him, but the underlying message is that someday monsters are going to be coming after him. And he is the son of Poseidon, and he needs to be able to know how to swim and to use that ability to protect himself. And, like, she won't be there to protect him, and he's going to need to know how to do that. And that's her whole kind of message, and she's really getting, like, upset and sort of freaking out. And then Percy, little baby Percy, is like, breathe, mom, it's okay. It's so crazy. So yeah, sort of, and I love that they're adding in these little flashbacks of Sally, and I hope they do this throughout the episodes when they're on the quest, because, like, we can't be forgetting how important Sally is. And I think they really did a great job in the first episode of, like, showing how important Sally is to Percy before she dies. And so them just revisiting it is good. So I love that. And so then this turns out to be, like, a dream. And so, like, then it's, like, baby Percy in, like, the wasteland dream place, whatever, where Kronos, I assume Kronos, is talking to him. And the little actor who plays baby Percy is so good. Like, he's, like, screaming mom. Like, I gasped. It was crazy. And then that's sort of the end of the flashback thing, because then Percy wakes up and he's on the Amtrak train. It's nighttime, and they're, like, heading away from Medusa's place, and they're heading west to try to get to LA. And so it's, like, the middle of the night, and Percy is just, like, laying in his little bed, and he just says, "Are you up?" And then Annabeth is like, "No." Or what does he say? He says, "Are you asleep?" And Annabeth says, "Yes." But then they, like, have a little conversation, and they talk about some important things at this point. What do they start with? They start with, okay, they start by talking about Thalia, I think, because basically Percy is trying to, like, learn a bit more about, like, Thalia and that whole situation, and about, like, how Thalia was, like, one of the big three children, and how he's the only other one at this point. So he's sort of just asking about that, and then they sort of talk about Annabeth and Thalia's relationship, about how, like, Thalia was really hard on her in, like, a helpful way. And, like, Thalia was, like, testing her, making sure that she could do it, and that sort of, like, led to Annabeth's, you know, like, wanting to be, like, the best fighter and, like, all this stuff. And then there's this whole thing of Percy being like, is that why you're so hard on me? It's so good. And then, so like that whole conversation is great. Then Percy says this whole thing about like, the way you guys all talk, like, about how, like, the gods are so, like, high and mighty, and, how, like, we need to be, like, beneath them, and we need to try to get their attention, and all this stuff. He's basically, like, roasting the whole hierarchy of, like, the gods being so great, and, like, everything the demigods do needs to revolve around them. And then, oh my god, it's such a good scene, because then Annabeth is talking about how, so she says something along the lines of, because Percy's about, like, why is everyone trying so hard to get their parents' attention? And Annabeth, because Annabeth is very much trying to get Athena's attention. That's, like, a big thing from episode 3, comes back in episode 4. And so she's talking about how, like, at least with godly parents, there's rules that, like, if you do this, you know, you're, like, you win a fight, you get all this glory and stuff. They will answer your prayer, or they will, like, give you a gift, like Annabeth's invisibility hat, or they will give you some sort of recognition that they, like, are proud of you. Which then leads into the whole story about Annabeth's mortal parent and mortal stepmom, and how that is a bad situation for her. And it's so crazy for her to be like, at least with godly parents, there's rules to get their love. But, like, with her dad and her stepmom, there isn't rules, and she doesn't know how to be loved by them, which is so crazy. And so then she basically tells Percy the whole story about, which, this is kind of crazy, because this whole story doesn't happen in the books until the Battle of Labyrinth. I'm pretty sure, like, the whole thing about, like, Annabeth being born from a thought in Athena's mind, and basically just, like, showing up on her dad's doorstep. And, like, in the beginning, she was treated as, like, a gift, and, like, her dad loved her and cared about her. But then her stepmom came in, and they had, Annabeth's stepbrothers, and it all just kind of, she says that she turned into a problem. And then, like, all these monster attacks and all this stuff, and she just became a burden to them. And so she ran away when she was 7. And she sort of tells that whole story. And as she's telling it, she's, like, holding onto her dad's college ring. And it's so good and emotional. And we just get a bunch of, like, Annabeth's backstory there, which, like, love. And then basically, like, Grover wakes up and it's, like, a bit of, like, breaking the tension sort of thing. And Grover's just being goofy. And then, like, they sort of go to bed. Then there's this really, to, like, cut between the night and day parts of the Amtrak, there's, like, this weird, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's, like, the exterior of the train, and then this flying object comes through and, like, hits the side of the train and, like, goes into the train. And then it, like, cuts to black and to the commercial break, and so we're like, oh, what's that? And so then, they wake up in the morning, and so then they're sort of just, like, sitting on the Amtrak, and they're regrouping, sort of, like, planning out where they gotta go. You know, they're going to Los Angeles, and Percy's stressing out the prophecy and all this stuff, and Annabeth's like, you can't, just, like, don't worry about it. It's gonna happen how it happens. You can't, like, change it, so, like, don't worry about it. There's a lot of little banter. It's super funny. Yeah. And then this police officer sort of comes over to them and is like, let me see your ticket. And they show him his ticket, and then he's like, oh, you're in this car. And, like, they go to their little, like, train car, and it's been, like, blown up and, like, destroyed. And so this police officer is like, you did this. And then there's this amazing scene where Annabeth looks at the police officer and she says, are we under arrest? And he's like, you don't want to take that tone with me, little girl. And then she's just like, are we under arrest? Like, it's so good. Can I just say also, actually, I mean, this sort of comes in later in the episode, but something I wanted from the show so bad was for them to, like, show moments of Annabeth. Like, I feel like people see Annabeth as like, she's always like plotting and she's serious and she's like the leader, but she's like tough and she's like serious. But there's like a lot of moments where like she can be goofy too, guys. She can goof around. She's not like uptight like 100% of the time, and I think this episode showed that in a good way. But like, although she is serious and she's leading and she's planning, she's still like having fun, you know. And and when they're in like the St. Louis Arch and like Percy and Annabeth are like giggling, that's it, like showed that, so love it. But yeah, so they're like, are we under arrest? And then they're just sort of sitting there waiting to like get in trouble for this thing that they didn't do. And then this woman comes over to them and is like, hello kids. And basically, I'll skip all the drama. She's sitting there and she's talking to them really in like a really like mysterious weird way, but she's like a mother and she's got a little dog, and it ends up being Echidna, mother of monsters, with the Chimera. And can I just say, the way that they've done like monsters in the show is so good. It's so good. Like, not to hate on the Minotaur, but I feel like, and Mrs. Dodds too, like Mrs. Dodds in like episode 1, they're like the big monsters, right? But like, they're not that interesting. But like the way that they like bring Mrs. Dodds back later when she's on the bus and her and Annabeth have that conversation, and like the way they did Medusa, giving her a real like backstory and like having her connect with the characters, and then having Echidna be this mother, like soccer mom like figure, and just being like, I'm just like a mother, I'm just caring for my children and like taking care of her dog. Like, the way they do these monsters is so interesting, that they're not just there and like fighting and like that's it. There's like real like depth to them, which I love. And like, okay, this is a bit of ahead of where we're supposed to be, but there's a part in the book with Krusty, the waterbed guy, and that wasn't in the movie, that wasn't in the musical, and it's very easily forgotten because it's like this weird like last little pit stop before they get to the underworld. And I don't know if they're gonna include Krusty in the show, because I feel like it's a very good chance that they might not, but I feel like they could give Krusty a real backstory. Justice for Krusty, bro. Yeah, because that part of the book is like honestly kind of scary. So I'm just saying, if they wanted to, I think they could do a good job with that. But anyway, so I just love how they did Echidna, made her this whole like southern like mom vibe. It's so good. And so basically then Echidna, the Chimera basically comes out, stabs Percy, and then Annabeth goes in and kills it. Well, no, she doesn't kill it. She temporarily wounds it, and it gives them a chance to escape. Percy's been stabbed by this stinger thing. We're like, what does this mean? We don't really know. This whole thing. And so then they're running. I will say there's a shot of the Chimera out of Chimera form, and it's this little like dog. It's so cute. I'm not a dog person, but that dog was cute. And so then they run off the bus, and we're like off of the Amtrak now. And where are they but St. Louis? And so they get off the bus and they're like, we need somewhere to hide, we need to escape from this Chimera, because it's like not behind us directly, but it's like gonna find us. And so Annabeth has this brilliant idea of, let's go to the St. Louis Arch, because it's like Athena's temple. It's like protected by Athena, which is like such a cool thing that wasn't in the book. The whole poison thing wasn't in the book either, and I think it's a super interesting and new addition. It just adds more, you know, like tension and like suspense to it. But Annabeth immediately is just like, let's go to Athena's temple, the St. Louis Arch. And then we get this little cute scene of they're like walking up to the arch, and Annabeth is like, it's 630 feet wide, it's 630 feet tall. She's spitting out all these facts about the architecture, which is so cute. And then they're sort of going in, and then this part of the episode gagged me. Oh, wait, I actually forgot to mention this. When they were on the Amtrak, Grover sort of started talking about Pan and about how, like, Pan, God of the Wild, is, like, sort of lost because humans are, like, destroying the world. And so satyrs are, like, searchers, and they go out and they try to find Pan. And it's giving a lot of Grover backstory. Also, I will just say, as they were going through the, like, landscape, there were little, like, centaurs running in the field, which is so cute. Like, the world building, I'm sick. It's so good. So yeah, on the Amtrak, we sort of set up the little Grover Pan searcher thing. But then when they get into the arch, they're in, like, not the basement, but I guess, like, the first level of it, which is, like, a museum on, like, Manifest Destiny and, like, Westward Expansion. And, like, this part, I was so gagged by this because I wasn't expecting it at all. And I didn't, like, I've never been to the St. Louis Arch. I didn't know that this was, like, in the bottom of it. But it's so crazy. And it's, like, the lines that are said. Annabeth's walking in and she goes, like, it's a temple to Athena. Or it's, like, it's a monument to, like, Athena and, like, you know, like, balance and, like, whatever, all the architecture stuff. And then Grover says it's a monument to a lot of other stuff too. And then it sort of, like, pans around the room and it's all these pictures of, like, animal skulls and, like, paintings of, like, colonizers, like, shooting bison and stuff, and, like, all this, like, westward expansion stuff. And, like, I, like, don't even have the words to explain how good of an addition that is to call out the westward expansion of it all. And this show being made in 2023 is so good. With 18 years of foresight, like, looking back on The Lightning Thief, being able to add these, like, actual, like, real good additions is so good. And, like, what was I gonna say? In the book, it's this whole thing about, like, why the gods are even in America, and it's because it's, like, wherever the heart of the West is where the Greek gods are, which, like, you know, The Lightning Thief was written in 2005, kind of a weird sort of, like, way to explain why the gods are in America, because it's, like, the most westernized, kind of weird. And so in the show, they haven't even, like, mentioned that at all, and they haven't even spoken about, like, why the Greek gods are even, like, living in New York, or why they're in America, and all this stuff. And I don't think they should. They don't need to get into it, because saying that it's because America is, like, the central, like, heart of the West is just, like, not it. But for them to be, like, doing this whole thing about westward expansion, about, like, Americans coming in and, like, ruining everything, it's, like, in a way sort of, like, referencing that idea from 2005 and bringing it back and being, like, you know. And I just love that, and I love how they're doing Grover in the show, and I love, like, I could actually, like, talk about it for an hour, how much I love how they brought up the westward expansion and how gross it is. And how, like, even this, like, temple to Athena of, like, wisdom and, like, this safe space is still being, like, plagued by those, like, things. It's so good. And so they're, like, at the St. Louis Arch, and I don't remember what happens, but, like, Grover leaves. And I think it's, like, after that, because he doesn't want to be around, like, the skulls and stuff. Because, like, it's gross. Like, oh my god, I can't. I love Grover. And then Percy's just, like, he doesn't like seeing, like, animals getting hurt and all this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah. So then Percy and Annabeth are sort of standing there, and they start to talk about, like, their parents, I think. And, like, Annabeth is like, you know, you could talk to your dad while you're here. And Percy's like, I don't want to talk to him right now. And it's this whole gag. And then, like, Annabeth's like, there's a scene, Annabeth's talking about how, like, she's like, I know that, like, I'm still defending my mom, and, like, I shouldn't defend my mom because she's, like, it's, like, whatever, but, like, like, she just can't help it. Like, she just wants to impress her mom. And then Percy's response is so good because he's just like, why do you care what I think? Like, you should just, like, you know, do what you gotta do. Like, don't worry about me. I've been a demigod for, like, a week. And it's just this really great sort of, like, this is something I'm about to reread the rest of the series. And, like, thinking about the Titan's Curse, that book, I'll talk about it more when I reread it, but that book is so important for Percy kind of being put in his place and humbled a bit, in the sense that everyone around him in that book is better than him and is more skilled and is, like, more aware and stuff. And it's really just, like, a humbling book for him, which is so great. And I love that, like, in this moment, even in The Lightning Thief, he's sort of already, like acting on that already. He's like, you've been training for 5 years. I've been training for 1 week. Like, you know more than me. You go, girl. Like, you know. And so that's really good. And then there's also this part, he's trying to, like, make her feel better about her mom. And so he does this, like, weird impression of Athena where she's, like, British. I don't know the actress that plays Athena. I don't know if she's British, but, like, Percy does this British accent, and it's so funny. And that's the part where Annabeth's, like, laughing and having fun. And I love that they're showing her like that. And then, like, also throughout this scene, Percy's kind of looking a little ill. He's got, like, red under his eyes, and he's very pale. And so, like, I would notice it. I was like, what's going on with Percy's face? And then there's also this part, so, like, they're sort of, like, Percy and Annabeth are getting along, whereas, like, in the last episode, they were fighting a lot. And so Annabeth says this line where she's like, watch out, you almost called me your friend. The Oracle will be, like, laughing in your face. And this is, like, right before Percy collapses. But that line is so crazy because obviously, like, they know the whole prophecy about, like, someone who Percy calls a friend is going to betray him. And so I think at this point they're like, Percy, don't be calling anyone friend. And so, like, they're having this moment of connection, but Annabeth is immediately back to thinking about the prophecy, but, like, don't call me your friend, because that would not be good news for you. I don't know, just thought that was interesting. But then Percy collapses, turns out he's been poisoned. They take him outside to the St. Louis fountain, and they're just, like, splashing him, and it's not working. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna take Percy to the top of the temple, like the top of the St. Louis Arch, and we'll pray to Athena, and hopefully she'll help. And so they're like, boom, got it. But, like, as they're running to go get in the elevator, they see Echidna and the Chimera, like, sort of coming at them, and Annabeth, like, hears them say something to her. And she's like, did any of you guys hear that? And they're like, no, what'd she say? And she's like, never mind, let's just go to the elevator. And so they, like, run to the elevator, and then they're all freaking out, and Percy's like, what did she say to you? What did she say to you? Annabeth, what did she say? And so then, oh my god, this part is so crazy. The way all the episodes connect, I'm ill. But basically, what Echidna said to Annabeth is something along the lines of, like, you embarrassed your mother because of what happened in the last episode with, like, Percy sending Medusa's head to Olympus. Athena is embarrassed now, and so she's not going to help you when you get to the top of the arch. And she's like, she hates you now. She's not going to help you, and she's not going to save Percy. And so, like, Annabeth tells him that, and the way Leah delivers her lines at this part is so good. Just, like, the absolute defeat of, like, everything Annabeth has ever done has been to please her mom, and she's, like, constantly trying to, like, be better and, like, be smarter and stronger so that Athena will notice her. And then, like, Percy did this thing and, like, made this mistake that embarrassed Athena, and it's, like, coming back to bite Annabeth. And that's so crazy because in just the last episode with Medusa talking to Annabeth and being like, I'm not like you, sweetheart, I was you, and talking about how, like, Poseidon made this mistake and Athena punished Medusa for it. And now in this episode, Percy made a mistake and Athena is punishing Annabeth for it. The parallels, it's so crazy. So basically they've realized that once they get to the top of this arch, Athena is not going to be helping them at all, and Percy is slowly dying right now because of the poison, and they don't know what to do. And so they get to the top, and then, like, there's a bunch of people up there, so Annabeth, like, pulls the fire alarm or something. All the people are getting out. And basically, Annabeth is up there, and she sort of, like, takes a stand, and she's like, Grover and Percy, you gotta get in this elevator and go back down, because, like, the Chimera and Echidna are on their way up. And so she's like, you guys gotta go back down and, like, go to LA and don't stop till you get to Hades and, like, save your mom. And, like, go and, like, finish the quest without me. And, like, for her to be, like, she's standing there and she's like, don't stop till you get to the underworld, is, like, pretty much implying that she thinks she's gonna die up there or just be stranded in St. Louis, who knows. But she's just like, go without me. And she's being so brave. It's so crazy. And then Percy is like, here, take Riptide. And she's like, okay. So she, like, takes the sword, and then he switches with her. He throws her in the elevator, and her and like, slams the door. So her and Grover are, like, stuck. Like, they can't come back in, so they just have to go down. And then Percy's up there because he is basically like, I'm gonna die right now. Like, I'm not gonna make it to Hades, like, in this condition with him being poisoned and all. So he is just like, I'm just gonna, like, fight this Chimera, I guess, and probably die. And so then the way the whole Chimera scene is done is so good. Because, like, up until this point, like, the Chimera or the Minotaur is definitely the most scary, but, like, the Chimera can breathe fire, you know? And it's, like, got scales, like, it's, like, tough. So he kind of, like, stands no chance, pretty much. So he's just sort of standing there, and, like, it's really quiet, like, there's, like, no music, and it's just, like, him, like, looking at this thing. And so basically there's a fight with the Chimera. It, like, blows a hole in the floor, and Percy pretty quickly falls through the hole, and he's, like, holding onto the ledge for dear life. And then Echidna's like, bye, like, you're not gonna survive this. And so then Percy, like, slips off and he falls, and he's just, like, falling, bro. And the way they shot this part, chills. It's, like, a wide shot of the entire arc, and it's just, you see Percy's so small, and he's just, like, falling slowly. And then there's, like, a POV shot. The POV shot was crazy, bro. And it's literally, like, spiraling and just, like so disorienting. And he gets so close to the ground. Like, the ground is right there, bro. But then we see, like, a plume of water comes and grabs Percy and brings him into the lake? The river. Yeah, the river. And this has been a whole thing. People love how they did this scene because basically in the book, I said this earlier, but Percy jumps into the water in the book because Rick Riordan, I don't know if he thought the river went under the arch, but he thought the arch was, like, very close to the river, and, like, didn't think to fact check that before he wrote the book. And so he just had Percy jumping into the water, but it's very clear, like, people have taken videos at the arch from, like, the bottom and been like, Percy could not make this jump. In no world could he make this jump. And so we've all been wondering, like, is Percy gonna just, like, straight up jump off the arch in the show? But they changed it so it makes actual sense. And the water just comes and grabs him. And then basically the rest of the episode is Percy's underwater, and there is this Nereid speaking to him, which is, like, a water spirit. And it's just telling him to, like, breathe and, like, breathe in the water. And so he's down there, and that's when he, like, learns that he can breathe underwater. Super fun. And so, like, that sort of connects to the beginning of the episode with, like, Percy being so scared to go in the water. and then by the end he's embracing the water and like breathing, and like it's fun. There's something I wanted to say. Oh, I will say, in the book, my least favorite part of the Lightning Thief book as a whole is this part in the water where he's like talking to the spirits after he jumps off the arch. I really hate that part of the book, and I don't know why. I'm like, get on with it. So I'm glad that it was so short. Like, it was a little quick scene where Percy just like learned to breathe underwater. So love it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's all that happened in that episode. So yeah. I loved episode 4. It was like packed with stuff. And it's sort of like a little like, the end of the episode's kind of cool because it's like sort of like it's halfway through the season, you know? And it's just like this climactic ending of like him being able to breathe now. So it's fun. Themes that I think they did really well in this episode. Grover's whole searching for Pan thing. I think they absolutely ate with that in this episode. Him seeing all the Manifest Destiny stuff, just being disgusted, him talking about how like the actual backstory of Pan and like why people search for him. I'm obsessed. I'll say like the whole Annabeth and Athena thing, her being blamed for Percy's mistakes. It's very History of Man by Maisie Peters, you know what I'm saying? The men start wars, yet Troy hates Helen sort of vibe. Other than that, also, I don't know if this really counts as a theme, but something that Echidna said that I thought was a cool quote was like, this has always been a family story, because she's like the mother of monsters, so every monster is like her child. And she talks to Percy and she's like, my mother is your great-grandmother? I think that's what she says. Yeah. And I think it's just, that just kind of like how like all the monsters are connected, and like it's all connected. Yeah. And also, this also isn't really a theme. Oh, wait, this is a theme. I can connect this to a theme. Their fatal flaws, which Annabeth and Percy's fatal flaws are shown in the same exact scene by them doing the same exact thing. And it's when they're on top of the arch, and Annabeth is like staying there, and she's like, you two go on without me. I'll fight the Chimera here. Like, you go ahead. And that's her hubris being like, I can do this, I can fight this monster, and I'm gonna prove to Athena that I can do it, so I'm like back in her good graces, this whole thing. But in the same moment, Percy switches spots with her so that she doesn't risk her life because of his loyalty, bro. Like, his like fatal loyalty, in that like he's putting himself in like deep danger to protect his friends. This isn't, what's the quote that Athena says? I don't know when she says it. At some point in the books, Athena says to Percy, she's like, you would start a war to protect your friends or something like that. And it's just true. So yeah, that's all my thoughts about episode 4. It was really good. Everyone who said it was too short, like, sorry, there's 10-year-olds watching this show. What do you want? Wait, okay, I do just need to talk a bit preemptively about episode 5, because you know how there's the little, like, sneak previews at the end of every episode? First of all, it's the Tunnel of Love, which, like, y'all know I've been waiting for this one. I've been saying since 2020 that, like, the scene I need to see adapted, because it's not in the movie and it's not in the musical, is the Tunnel of Love scene, because it eats in the book. So there's that. And then what else? There's like some random scene where Percy's like in a chair and there's like gold coming onto him. I don't know what that was, but basically the sneak preview just looked really good, and so I'm very excited for episode 5, and I cannot wait until Tuesday, bro. I'm so excited. So yeah, that's all. Oh my god, Smosh has been in the background this whole time. I was watching them play Mario Party